The film opens with a Star Wars-styled text scrolling that reads how Austin Powers was frozen in 1967 and defrosted in the 90s to battle his enemy Dr. Evil. After succeeding in banishing Dr. Evil, Austin settled down with his newlywed wife Vanessa, or so he thought. Somewhere in space, a NASA spaceflight spots Dr. Evil's big boy rocket ship and notifies the base. An egg-shaped cryogenic chamber ejects from the rocket and moves toward the Earth's surface. In 1997, Austin Powers is enjoying sex with his wife Vanessa in his honeymoon suite. However, when she began acting strangely and responding to his TV remote, she was revealed to be an android fembot on a suicide mission to kill Austin. The fembot then starts shooting at Austin using the gun placed on its chest, but Austin manages to escape every bullet and hide behind a wooden table. Fembot then switches to self-destruct and explodes inside the room. The entire room gets destroyed, but nothing happens to Austin. He checks his balls and relaxes, knowing everything is safe. Austin then briefly mourns the loss of his one true love, but is overjoyed that he was single again. He proceeds naked into the hotel's lobby and exhibits himself to everyone at the hotel. In Guam, an operator at the NATO monitoring facility watches the Jerry Springer show, where not evil enough son Scott Evil was reunited with his cryogenically frozen and thawed father Dr. Evil with plans for taking over the world. Someone in the show tells something bad to Scott and the entire show ends up with a full-scale brawl. The operator informs his chief about Dreville's return, and they are worried about what he will be doing next. Meanwhile, Austin is driving in his Jaguar sports car, and his new assignment is a photo shoot in his own swinging London shag pad with supermodel Rebecca Romaine and seductive model Ivana Humpalot. Basil Exposition from British intelligence reports to Austin that Dr. Evil has returned. Meanwhile, in Dr. Evil's headquarters in Seattle, Number 2 brags about his legitimate and profitable investments in a small, Seattle-based coffee company called Starbucks and asks Dr. Evil to shift his focus from evil doing to business like Starbucks, where he can make money. But Dr. Evil warns Number 2, saying he is the one who makes decisions there and orders everyone to follow what he says. Frau Farbacina also presents him with a clone they prepared while he was gone, and considering the size of the clone, Dr. Evil decides to call him Mini-Me. Dr. Evil then explains his new plan of killing Austin and introduces his new invention, time travel. He wants to go back to 1969 and steal Austin's mojo, which is a viscous liquid essence of Austin Powers' sex drive, because Dr. Evil believes that taking Austin's mojo is the best way for him to get even with Austin. Hence, Dr. Evil and Mini-Me travel back to 1969, 2 years after Austin was frozen. Once back in the year 1969, they meet Number 2's younger counterpart, and then they proceeded to his new lair, which is a hollowed-out volcano. In his volcanic lair, Evil tells everyone that he had an operative named Fat Bastard inside the Ministry of Defense to help steal the mojo from Austin's frozen body. Fat Bastard is a disgruntled Scottish guard known for his lethal temper and his unusual eating habits, who also weighed a metric ton. After spraying a nerve gas, Fat Bastard drills into Austin's chamber and extracted his mojo with a large hypodermic needle. Meanwhile, British intelligence warns Austin that one of Dr. Evil's agents is after him. Austin completes his photo shoot and later plays chess with Ivana, who then tries to seduce him. But before they finish the game, Ivana admits that she has been sent by Dr. Evil to kill Austin and claims he is too sexy. They then proceed to have sex in her bed. Unfortunately, they do not get far before he discovers that he has lost his mojo. The Ministry of Defense learns that Dr. Evil has developed a time machine, and hence they create their own time machine and send Austin back to 1969 in a convertible Volkswagen New Beetle painted with 60s LSD-themed colors. Austin arrives at a London pad where at the moment a party is going on. Austin dances with the girls and has some fun at the party. Austin meets a girl at the party named Robin Swallow, who is an assassin sent by Dr. Evil to kill Austin. With the help of a CIA agent, Felicity Shagwell, Austin somehow manages to escape the assassination attempt. However, the two of them are chased by Mustafa, yet another of Dr. Evil's henchmen. But Austin successfully catches him and asks him the location of Dr. Evil. Mustafa does not answer when asked the first time, but when Austin asks the same question third time, he reveals the existence of a secret volcano lair. Because Mustafa has the inability to withhold the answer once the exact same thing is asked 3 times in a row. Understanding that, Austin starts asking questions 3 times in a row. But before he tells him where exactly is the volcano lair, Mini-Me appears in a baby outfit in a stroller and shot a poisonous dart into Mustafa's neck to prevent any more answers from him. He falls down and cries for help. Meanwhile, Dr. Evil's spy Fat Bastard arrives at the secret hideout to deliver Austin's mojo and unsuccessfully negotiates to give Mini-Me instead of a cash payment. After drinking some of the mojos, Dr. Evil pursues Frau Farbacina for sexual private time and sends all others out from there. Shortly after the sex, Frau confesses to Dr. Evil that she was late, but before they complete the conversation, Scott interrupts them coming traveling through the time portal. He asks Dr. Evil to include him in taking over the world, but Dr. Evil does not think Scott has what it takes to do evil stuff in the world and hence does not include him. Meanwhile, Austin has become close to Felicity and they spend so much of their investigation time roaming around the city. Meanwhile, at the Ministry of Defense cryo chamber, after thoroughly examining the picture from the lab, Austin identifies Fat Bastard as the one who stole his mojo. After finishing his examination, Felicity requests him to bed, but mojo-less Austin rejects her sexual advance and apologizes and goes out alone for a drive. As that happens, Basil calls Felicity and tells her not to get close with Austin as it would affect her profession. He also instructs Felicity to track down Fat Bastard and plant a homing device on him by any means necessary. When she joined Fat Bastard in bed, she implanted the tracking device up his butt so that Powers could retrieve his mojo. In phase 2 of Evil's plans, he proposes to put a giant laser on the moon that would send a laser beam to the Earth to destroy the planet. He then plans to make a deal with the US president and calls him. On the call, he demonstrates his plan of destroying Washington, D.C. Also, he goes further saying that he would destroy more major US cities every hour on the hour unless they pay him a ransom of $100 billion. The president and his colleague laugh at Dr. Evil because it's 1969 and the amount of money he just asked is not available anywhere on the planet. But Dr. Evil does not step back. Instead, he demonstrates the laser destroying the White House with a footage from Independence Day. Meanwhile, Austin and Felicity follow Fat Bastard using the homing device planted on him. Unfortunately, Fat Bastard has left the device in a public toilet while taking a dump. They collect the device and also some samples to do the necessary testing. After testing, they find the traces of a rare vegetable that only grows on one Caribbean island. From that discovery, Austin comes to the conclusion that Dr. Evil's lair is located somewhere on the Caribbean island. Powers and Felicity travel to Evil's private island in a submarine, both looking like Honey Rider when they removed their scuba gear. At night, while they search for the explosives in their tent, their shadow figure appears like she is pulling things out of Austin's ass. The guards watching that will be shocked to see that, but they catch Austin and take them to Dr. Evil. There they meet Fat Bastard and he informs Felicity that she was bad in bed with him. At first, Austin finds it difficult to believe she slept with Fat Bastard, but later Felicity accepts that and defends herself saying she is a secret agent and it's her job to do what the agency instructs. Dr. Evil then tells his guards to put them both in a cell with security. However, they escape from there by exposing Felicity's breast to the guard, who then falls into the liquid hot magma. Meanwhile, Dr. Evil and Mini-Me were launched to the moon in a phallic-shaped rocket to install the giant laser at his moon base. As the rocket flew across the sky, a clever wordplay conversation takes place back and forth, offering lots of synonyms for male genitals. Felicity and Austin also get a ride to the moon in the Apollo 11 capsule and search for Dr. Evil. As the laser ignition sequence was initiated and armed, Powers fight against Mini-Me and subdues him, and later ejects him into outer space through the lunar disposal unit. Austin then pursues Dr. Evil to get back his mojo. As he enters the chamber, he will be presented with a difficult choice, either to save the world or Felicity, who was locked in a chamber with poison gas. Austin shoots a few of the guards and diverts the laser beam firing, thus saving the DC capital, but Felicity dies from poisonous gas. However, using Dr. Evil's time portal, Austin travels back 10 minutes, meets up with himself, and saves both this time the world and Felicity. Foiled again, Dr. Evil initiates the self-destruction mechanism of the moon base and escapes in his rocket after throwing the bottle of Austin's mojo in the air. Austin tries to catch it but fails and it crashes on the floor, destroyed. Austin is very sad, but Felicity comforts him, saying that all the things he has done show that he never really lost it in the first place. With seconds to spare, they escape through the time portal to 1999. In Austin's pad, the obese and unhappy Fat Bastard tries to kill Powers, but Felicity intervenes and disarms him by kicking him in the nuts. Meanwhile, back in 1969, Dr. Evil's rocket retrieves Mini-Me from spinning in space, and Dr. Evil vows again that he is going to get Austin Powers. As the movie ends, we see a repeat of Jerry Springer's show, and in that show, Frau Farbacina reveals to Scott that she is his mother and he wasn't a test tube baby after all. And 1 month later, the 90s, Austin returns to his pad where he finds Felicity in bed with the 1969 Austin, and they both sit on either side of Felicity ready to make love.
Thank you for watching. It may be easy for you to like and subscribe, but it means the world to us. Please subscribe for more movie recaps.